Chapter 22. It rained the first 2 weeks of April, and Luke was in a tizzy, wondering when he would ever get to see Jen again. Finally, the ground dried out, and Dad headed out to the fields to plow. Luke raced to Jen's house. "Oh, good," she greeted him. "You can get the advanced battle plans. I was afraid we were just going to have to pick you up Thursday night and fill you in then." Luke carefully slid the doors shut behind him and straightened the blinds so he and Jen would be totally hidden. Then he turned to face her. "What are you talking about?" he asked, but he knew. His heart began to thump harder than it had in his rush through the backyards. "The rally, of course," Jen said impatiently. "Everything's set. I'm taking one of my parents' cars, and I'm picking up 3 other kids on my way. But I made sure there'd be room for you. You should feel lucky. Lots of kids are just going to walk. We're all meeting at the president's house at 6 a.m. Luke clutched the cord to the blinds. "Do you know how to drive?" he asked. "Well enough." She flashed him a wicked grin. "My brothers told me how. Come on." She waved him over to the couch. He sank into it while Jen perched on the edge. "What if the population police stop you before you get to the Capitol?" he asked. "Us, you mean. We. You're going too, remember?" "Don't worry. Nobody'll stop us," she giggled. "I checked the national employee staffing schedules through the computer. Let's just say several of the population police got some unexpected days off." "You mean you changed their schedules? You can do that?" Jen nodded, a wicked gleam in her eye. "It took me a whole month to figure out how, but you are now looking at an accomplished hacker." Dimly, Luke realized why Jen had seemed so relaxed and happy on his last several visits. They'd been vacations for her, breaks from intense work on plans for the rally. He looked closer and saw the fatigue in her eyes. She looked like a younger version of Mom after a 12-hour shift in the chicken factory, or Dad after a long day of baling hay. But there was something more in her expression. His parents had never looked so feverishly giddy. "What if someone finds out what you did and changes it back?" Jen shook her head. "They won't. I was very selective. I coordinated everyone's travel plans and only eliminated the police who had to be eliminated. Aren't you excited? We're going to be free after all these years." She leaned down and pulled a sheaf of papers out from under the couch. "Best hiding place in the world. The maid's too lazy to clean under there. Now, let's see. I'll pick you up at 10 p.m. and..." Luke was glad she was looking at the papers instead of him. He wouldn't have been able to meet her eyes. Okay, so nobody's going to be caught on the way to the Capitol, but once you're there, at the president's house, someone will call the population police, and then..." Luke felt panicky just thinking about it. Jen wasn't fazed. "So what?" she asked. "I don't care who gets called once we're there. Heck, I may call the population police myself. They're not going to do anything to a crowd of 1,000, especially not when lots of us are related to government officials. We'll make them listen to us. We're a revolution." Luke looked away. "But your friends, you were mad at them because they weren't into it. What if they don't show up?" "What do you mean?" Jen's voice was fierce. Luke could barely speak for the panic welling inside him. "In the chat room, they were making jokes, Carlos and Sean and the others. You said they weren't taking it seriously." "Oh, that. That was a long time ago. They're all on board. They're psyched. Why, Carlos is my lieutenant in all of this. You wouldn't believe how much he's helped. So, okay, 10 o'clock, and then it's 8 hours to the Capitol, and..." She consulted her papers again. "What kind of sign do you want to carry? I deserve a life, or in the population law now, or this is the one I found in an old book. Give me liberty or give me death." Luke tried to imagine what Jen seemed to be taking for granted. He could get in a car. He'd sat in the pickup in the barn. A car wasn't much different. And for 8 hours, that would be all he had to do. Sit. Not that difficult. Except that panic would be coursing through him for the entire 8 hours because of where the car was going. And then to get out in public at the president's house and carry a sign, his imagination failed. He broke out in a cold sweat. He started. "Yes?" Jen waited. The silence between them seemed to be growing like a balloon. Luke struggled to speak. "I can't go." Jen gaped at him. "I can't," he said again weakly. Jen shook her head briskly. "Yes, you can," she said. "I know you're scared. Who isn't? But this is important. Do you want to hide all your life, or do you want to change history?" Luke made a stab at humor. "Isn't there another choice?" Jen didn't laugh. She sprang from the couch. "Another choice, another choice." She paced and jerked back to face Luke. "Sure, you can be a coward and hope someone else changes the world for you. You can't hide up in that attic of yours until someone knocks at your door and says, 'Oh, yeah, they freed the hidden. Want to come out?' Is that what you want?" Luke didn't answer. You've got to come, Luke, or you'll hate yourself the rest of your life. When you don't have to hide anymore, even years from now, there'll always be some small part of you whispering, I don't deserve this. I didn't fight for it. I'm not worth it. And you are, Luke, you are. You're smart and funny and nice, and you should be living life instead of being buried alive in that old house of yours. Maybe I just don't mind hiding as much as you do, Luke whispered. Jen faced him squarely, her gaze unwavering. Yes, you do. You hate walls as much as I do, maybe more. Have you ever listened to yourself? Every time you talk about how you used to go outdoors and work in the garden or something, you glow. You're alive. Even if you don't want anything else, don't you want to get the outdoors back? What Luke wanted was to get away from Jen, because she was right. Everything she said was right. But that couldn't mean he had to go. He huddled deeper in the couch. I'm not brave like you, he said. Jen grabbed his shoulders and peered into his eyes. Oh, yeah, she said. You dared to come over here, didn't you? And here's something. Why are you always the one who makes the trip? Ever think of that? If I'm so much braver, how come I'm not risking my life to see you? There were 1,000 answers to that. Because I found you first, because your house is safer than mine, because I need you more than you need me. You've got your computer and all your chat room friends, and you go places. Luke squirmed away. My dad hangs around my house too much, he said. It's safer this way. I'm just protecting you. Jen backed up. Thanks for the chivalry, she said bitterly. I've got enough people protecting me. If you care so much, why don't you help me get free? You say you won't come to the rally for yourself, so do it for me. That's all I'll ever ask of you. Luke winced. When she put things that way, how could he not go? Except he couldn't. You're crazy, he said. I can't go, and neither should you. It's too dangerous. Jen flashed him a look of pure disgust. You can leave now, she said coldly. I don't have time for you. Luke could feel the ice in her words. He stood up. But go, Jen said. Luke stumbled toward the door. He stopped by the blinds and turned around. Jen, can't you understand? I do want it to work. I hope. Hope doesn't mean anything, Jen snapped. Action's the only thing that counts. Luke backed out the door. He stood on the Talbots' patio, blinking in the sunlight, breathing in the smell of fresh air and danger. Then he turned and ran home.